Hey, everybody, welcome to the AMP session today. We are delighted to be joined by Amanda Kerr. We'll get to Amanda in just a second. But for those of you that are new to eXp or you're new to the AMP session, the whole purpose of AMP, it stands for the Agent Mentor Program, is to just on an ongoing basis provide you insights into what is happening with some of our agents. We often hear from our icon agents, but we'd like to interview some of our other agents. Sometimes we're talking about specific skills. Sometimes we're talking about people's journeys. But one thing I do know is that if you pay attention and you listen closely, you'll always learn something. So welcome to AMP. Amanda, welcome.
Thank you.
And just for those that don't know, where are you based?
I'm in Perth. I move around a bit. I travel, but basically Perth.
Basically Perth. Perfect. And give us just a little bit, as you know, we've got about 20, 25 minutes to chat together. Just tell us a little bit about your real estate career. It's not your first day.
No, it isn't. No, 20 years ago, I started real estate, and it was a really different time when you came in to set up a profile. I had a billboard in Bayswater in Perth, and I did letter drops. There was no such thing as Facebook, I don't think. Um, I don't remember anyway.
No, there
So
definitely wasn't.
things were really different. But I pretty quickly went into property management.
Yep.
So really for about 18 years of my career, I've been a property manager who's been offered referrals for sales.
Right. Right.
Mm.
Without mentioning companies, tell us about, because we've had chats to chat about this before, but tell us a little bit about those early days when you were in real estate, some of the things that you found that were systems in place maybe that weren't as motivating as what others thought they were.
Oh, you mean the KPIs?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So since I've been with eXp and Rob's guidance, amongst other things that I've listened to and learned about, there are some personalities that really don't like to be regimented by KPIs. And in fact, they go in the opposite direction and it demotivates them in their business. I just thought I was stupid, being a bad girl, all of that. And then I did come to realize that it just wasn't how I thrived. Was being set with really strong parameters every week and month. So that's what happened. We were very structured. Um, and we did have open plan offices and we could speak to each other across the desk. But I found that even a bit distracting because people would bring a lot of things to talk about that wasn't necessarily real estate and productive. And even leaving the office was, wow, now I can get on with some things.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I remember doing a time on task study when I was working in a brick and mortar kind of scenario, and part of my job was to monitor agents in what they were doing that was productive and what they were doing that was shooting the breeze, just gas bagging around or talking about the footy, talking about home and away, talking about, recipes or whatever else. And it was about 50% of the time that agents were in the
Yeah.
office that they were task focused, that would be moving their business forward. And then,
Mm.
somebody else was talking about, let's go get a coffee. Oh, the carrot cake is amazing. And all those kind of things. So yeah, it's an interesting concept when you move outside of that framework. So talk us through your journey to coming to EXP and how that's
Mm.
changed things a bit.
So I had a second rent roll I built, and they were always, just less than 100. That was something I did with perhaps an assistant. Um, and things changed, and I had an owner that was not one I wanted to work for. So I sent his 18 listings back to him, which sounds weird, but sometimes you just got to look after yourself.
Yeah.
And I did. And then I found a few people around me about the same age that weren't that well with property management. Things were changing, getting more difficult, scarcity, all sorts. And I thought it's time. It's time for me to sell and really get out. And that was almost exactly 2 years ago. And then Richard introduced me, and I met him in my first year of real estate in the company we were both in. I believe he started a year before me, he keeps telling me.
Yeah.
We're not related, but we found it
They have the
amusing.
same surname, and they're often confused as being related to each other, but they're not. They're just the
That's right,
coincidence. Just
especially when
the
we go
Kerrs are
out.
rising to the top.
That's it. Especially when we go out and on an auction appraisal or something, like we do some work together.
Yeah.
That's got to be stated.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Rich kind of said, look, this is a really cool place. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, what could there possibly be?
Hmm.
So it took me a few months to think about it. I was pretty busy transferring my rent roll over after I got an excellent offer for sale. But I'll say, Robert, was when I met you on a Zoom call. I went, okay, this guy's really different. And I have worked for licensees, not just had my own business
Yeah.
throughout those 20 years,
Yeah.
but most of the time, probably 15 of those years were my own business. So I was pretty sick of managing my own trust account, knew I didn't want to do it anymore, and thought, well, I also need a break. So what if I just get in and sit in the background and get all the learning and keep up to date and do my year off, which is what I did.
Yep.
After I spoke to you, I'm like, yeah, I'm in. Yeah, this sounds great. And I didn't really understand exactly what we had here, I will
You
say.
were like, I don't know, but it sounds okay. Move
Yeah, sounds
forward.
good. Richard's in.
Yeah.
I like those other people. I can always jump out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Yeah. That's so good. And you had a bit of a year where you a gap year where you
Yeah, I
went
did.
gallivanting around.
A gap year at the other end, right,
Yeah.
of my
Yeah.
life. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was fun. I went sailing, created a travel blog, and proved that you really could keep up with real estate traveling. Well, Chris always tells us that, right?
Yeah, that's right. The and so when you kind of you were overseas and you came back and you did a bit of traveling and that kind of stuff. And then you decided to, and I want to get into it just to try and pick your brain out of some of the things that you've been learning since you've been back into the sales world. Without just tell us a little bit about your one of your last listings that you have, because you had one of the most opportunity filled listings that just about anyone could possibly have, but without disclosing anything about the particular seller's
Hmm.
identity. Just talk us through, how did you get that listing? What were some of the
Hmm.
opportunities that you encountered along there?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I got contacted by I wouldn't say lead generating, they call it data farming group. And I honestly thought they were a scam. And so I did much investigation into them before I actually paid for a lead. Um, and then I gave 15% of commission at the settlement. And really, I looked at that and thought, that's okay. I want something to get started again. And my weak point was actually farming listings because let's face it, I'd never really done that in my career because I hadn't had to. It was referral based. So I took this and I think I knew that this wasn't my ideal client by a long shot. And I spoke to Rob when I
And that
first
became more clear as the time went on.
Yes, it became crystal clear to me. And do you know when you get into something and the only way to do it is to go forward,
Yeah.
to actually get out of it? Go forward and complete it. And I just did. And I felt this before in property management. There's been things in my life that I've done this for, but this one was particularly challenging. I think what I got out of that is I did not have clearly in my mind my ideal client, which I now do after we talked about it, ridiculous amount of hours that Rob actually calculated. Um, and there was just one challenge after the other. People that had got themselves in a bad track in life and really saw me as providing a solution, which I was. I said, I've got a solution for you. No presentation required, just standing, listening, and offering a solution. And I think that's what definitely got me the listing. Now, if that comes up in the future, I will say all the best and thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
And out of there.
And out of there. So I'll just fill I'll fill the audience in slightly without trying to disclose anything. So Amanda's gone to this opportunity that she's been given, and she's gone there. The place was presented in a post-apocalyptic style,
Yep.
and the people that were living there were in the they were in the role of, we'll just put it, they were in the dress up world, and then they also were very self-medicated with home chemistry types of things. So very challenging for the agent Amanda to know who she was talking to on any given day and what their mental health was going to be like on any given day and what the truth was and that kind of stuff. If we set the owner to the side for a minute, Amanda, just tell us a little bit about the actual property, what your thoughts were when you got there, what works you thought needed to be done, and how you went about that.
Yeah, so there were like holes in the doors, carpets. It was terribly run down. It really, the best thing would have been to have had everything out, had her move out and take everything with her and then strip it back. When we got it, photos of it and everything, it just fairly looked average anyway. They decorated it.
You lifted it to average.
Yes, after spending $26,000 in repairs.
Yeah.
Now that was through a
an online
loan
funding
system like
Yeah.
Realty Assist, and that was just incredible. And we whipped that into shape in 5 days. I just have contacts from my previous property management, but I also managed the repairs. No. We're not a property manager. Rob said to me, "Can you tell me what a real estate agent does?" I lost count of how many times he asked me that question. Then I go, "Oh no."
But that was your natural flow of
It is
trying to look after somebody, trying to help somebody. And that is a part of what we do. But there's a line and then
I definitely crossed it.
Yeah.
And thank you. It was part of what I did. Thank you. I'll correct my language in that because not doing again. So the guys I used were really fabulous. Like they were really great with the owner because there was a lot of things going on, shall we say, whilst they were there. And they worked really well with them, saw it as a challenge, found it at times amusing, and really just got through it and got out of there. I have never ordered a skip bin that large.
Yeah.
That was a massive thing. Yeah, that's it, Karen. Don't go there.
And it probably wasn't enough.
No, it wasn't. There was another one that came half the size after that. I just couldn't believe how much stuff we got out of there.
Yeah.
So that was certainly something. And without your support, Rob, I don't know really how I would have done it. And in that journey, you were actually pointing me to, how could you do this differently next time? Because it was sort of the thing where you could go, that's it, I'm out. I am not selling real estate again. I could not go through that again.
It was very emotionally draining, financially draining, time draining, and all of that. Karen's saying,
Karen said, did you? Oh my gosh.
Just having one of the.
I empathize.
Yeah. But I think it's
settled on Friday.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, Karen, very recent.
Yeah. One of the things that I think it's really great to have one of these every so often. If you're a slow learner like me, sometimes you get the hero complex, that I can do all these things and I can sort all this stuff out for people. And and sometimes you can't. Sometimes,
Mm, mm.
like Amanda was sharing, they did the property up. They got it presented for sale. It was an auction campaign, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the challenges was there was an over robust, untrained dog on the property who was helping with the landscaping in a rearrangement kind of a way. And that was a big problem for you because you got the
Yeah.
place looking great for the auction campaign. It passed in, and then um, within hours, the house seemed to go back to where it was originally. Like it was amazing.
Absolutely. I'm watching Karen. She's loving that, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
right.
we need to, I think let's have a virtual coffee, Karen.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so what happened, in fact, is I ended up convincing them that they could put their dog in a kennel. They had nowhere else for it to go. So I said, it's got to go out because it's going to undo the work we're doing, and you will spend more money. $1,000 on a kennel. So,
yeah,
do you know, it was just the most, look, kudos to me for being so creative and resourceful. And I will go forward and use that in another way, uh, I won't say more productive, but just looking after myself more.
yeah.
Um,
Let's
and
talk a little bit about that experience that you had and what you learned about yourself and maybe what you
mm.
learned about real estate. First of all, what did you learn about yourself? You did hang in there and you saw it through to the end.
I really did. I did learn to let go of the control of it, Rob, because you know, some of you may know, I went to Exmouth to look after Victoria's business, also in eXp, for a month, and it hadn't settled, and I had no idea what was to come around the settlement. It was really huge. I could do almost everything from Exmouth, which was awesome. But Rob went to the property for me a couple of times, which was so fantastic. And then Rich offered to do it as well. So I really felt that team experience and the support around it. And at times I felt like really embarrassed. I wasn't doing it myself. And I'm asking these people, it's not their job. But for them, it was a team thing to do. And that's how we roll, you know. So that was a whole new experience for me. And to know that it really does go. I mean, after all, I'd driven 1,200 Ks to Exmouth to help somebody else. And guess what? The rest of my team were helping me. So it stood to reason that everyone was going to do that. So yeah, that's something about myself was that I was able to accept the support and assistance and not go, I'm put on my Wonder Woman cape, you know, and I'll do it. I can do it. And it's true, I can at my own cost, usually.
Yeah, yeah. From a real estate perspective, you mentioned now that you're working more with an ideal client kind of a framework. How does that look like? How did you I mean, I know we've talked about it, but yet you've got it there. Yep, cool. We
Oh,
can't
okay. It doesn't come into focus. Ideal client homeowner between 30 and 65 years. They are in a position to sell and they understand why they want to sell.
yeah. It's a big difference.
I think so.
It's a big difference.
And I will say this little guy here too, like coming back into real estate,
Yep.
I was just kind of flailing around going, oh yeah, I think I wanna. Yeah, it's been 20 years. Oh God, they have to do Facebook and stuff. And
Mm,
stuff like Chris does. Oh, no, I don't know. I don't want to look at my phone all night either. So when I thought about what I really wanted to do in the next 5 to 10 years, I thought if I put that on a vision board,
mhm.
then that's going to drive me into here's why I'm doing it. Here's why I want to start again. And it takes time, right? It takes time to generate the leads and learn how to be a lead generator and you know farm an area or farm areas. And that's something I haven't done for ages. And I was pretty pushed into it and beaten over the head to do it with KPIs 20 years ago. So probably wasn't really great at remembering it either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the vision board really helped. And for me, it's creating a tiny house community.
Yeah.
Because it's a solution to, housing and stuff as well as that's all I want, really, because I will want to go traveling,
Yeah.
you know. So it inspires me to go, let's learn the things that you want to do. And you've been great with that, Rob, because it's like there's all these farming techniques, and I go out to do door knocking and I'm great at it for a little while and I often get a listing, but I still don't like it.
Mm.
I feel, I don't know, I feel like I'm intruding.
Mhm.
But there's the theory that you have of going, and you went with Rich and you go either side of the road. And I'm just talking with a girl who's going to come on and join at eXp. She's the same. She said, would you actually come with me and do some door knocking? And I said, I would, because there you go. It's the team thing again. It's the support. And also, you know, it just I can't actually think of why it feels better, but when you do it on your own, I think it's the voice in your head. It gets in and it goes, I don't know why you're going to do this. Like, people don't want to talk to you, whatever else you say. Your idea with the folded card in the
Yeah.
door, I love.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because you get a lot of people in our age bracket that might have been in those early days when it almost seemed militant, you had to do this and you had to do. And if you're in real estate, one of the great things about being in real estate is you're probably anti-authority to begin with. Because, and
I
so,
never thought of that.
and so well,
Yes.
I mean, anybody that signs up to be commission only, they're risk takers. They're not they're non-conformist from the other part of society as a general rule. So you're probably not, loving authority and being told what to do. We like to be shown options and we love to be given ideas. We don't like to be told what to do.
Awesome. I'm going to let my mum know that.
And as soon as someone puts us in that environment where they're like, right, today is Monday, 8 a.m. You need to be here. You need to do this. You need to do that. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
We start going, la da 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 da. What else is there to do?
Here's the other thing, Rob, that you are the only one responsible for yourself getting those jobs done, right?
Yeah,
So you can't go, well, it's your fault for distracting me over there at the desk. If you hadn't talked about your great night out last night, I'd have got all this stuff done. Like it's very, when you look at it, you drive yourself, and it's up to you to set your own, if you want KPIs or call them something else,
yeah,
floating goals.
yeah.
Um, because you can have them close or far away, and there's so much information and training to be got from here
Mm.
that it's just about showing up and you get infused with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I had somebody ring me yesterday in the afternoon and they're excited about that they've got a colleague that they're going to team up with and go out and do some prospecting and some like actual in the and they were telling me, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to do this, whatever. And I said, hold on now, you're getting a little bit excited. You're starting to sound like the teacher now. What's going on here? And it was great. It was great to hear that enthusiasm because, you know, in our industry, we hear about prospecting so much, it's almost like a noise. Like you become like, when you're a parent and your kids are little and they're screaming and carrying on and you don't even hear about it, and you go somewhere and people are like, what's wrong with your children? What like, well, they're making noise. It's sometimes when we hear that repetition over and over and over, you need to be doing lead generation, you need to be doing marketing, prospecting, it just becomes noise.
Yeah.
Rather than an actual strategy to get to me to what's on my vision board.
And it's when you say noise too, it's like an aggravation.
It's like the nails on the chalkboard kind of thing,
Yeah.
if you're old enough not to have worked with whiteboards.
And thanks for including me in your age group. I do feel that.
Yeah. So we've got about 5 minutes left. What are some of the key things you've learned about real estate in the last couple of years that you've been with eXp?
Okay. So I'm going to say it doesn't need to be that hard. Um, I don't use need lightly either. Um, I was just brought into an industry at the time that, you must do these things. And nobody said, "Oh, so you like talking to people and you like having coffee." Okay. What if you what if you did that a lot? What if you contacted people and asked them to go for a coffee? Also the structure of your day. I mean, that day, that time you did some training with us and you were like, you know, you got to put your month in once a year for your holidays and then 1 week a quarter. I mean, I haven't stopped thinking of how freeing that is.
Hmm.
And then appointments in the afternoon. Uh, sure, Mr. Smith. I have 2, 4, and 6 available. Which suits you best? Like no other options, not Saturday, not Sunday, Monday to through Friday. I'm like, oh, could I do that? Like the sky will fall through if I do that. Because what about Saturdays and Sundays and being available at 8 o'clock at night? I've learned that in you there is no have to. You can make a choice. How important is that? How important is it for me to, be out doing something with my family or my friends? All the importance of the appointments are important.
Hmm. Yeah, so many people they get so focused on doing the job. So they come into real estate because they think they're going to make a good income to support their family who they love very much. And then they spend all their time doing real estate and the money might flow through, but the kids don't see the parent, or the spouse or whatnot. And it doesn't make any sense.
No, no, there's a lady I spoke to that about coming into eXp and her kids didn't see her. And she was an absolute, like, I love her systems. I listened really carefully to everything she told me about. She got excited about what she used to do. And she's 78. Pretty much she missed a big chunk of her family's life.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not right or wrong. We're not here to judge, but there are different ways of doing it.
That's right. There's choices, right?
Yeah.
And to me, it seemed 20 years ago that there weren't. That
Yeah.
if you were going to be a real estate agent, this was the only pathway for you.
Well, there probably were choices, but when you went to certain organizations, that's the way it was.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Yeah, yeah.
so because I often talk with the agents in Western Australia that we're on eXp Island, and it doesn't take too long to be on eXp Island that you forget what it's like out there in other offices where it's really demanding or you've got to do it this way. I mean, I worked in an office where there was a sales manager that wanted to measure your name badge and where it was on your, like it literally got a ruler out and was trying to say, because they were ex-Navy, so they thought, well, this needs to be here. And they just arbitrary, like you hire adults, let them be adults and go and do adult things, like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not the end of the world. Amanda, thanks for taking time out of your schedule to chat to us on AMP. It's been a delight. Any last comments that you would have if you were listening, if you were talking to yourself 2 years ago, what would you be saying?
Oh, wow. Just explore the opportunities inside of eXp for real estate, and what floats your boat, what works for you, because you will find something that resonates and you can do well with, because that's the kind of model we have.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well said. Amanda Kerr, thanks for being our guest on this week's AMP.
My pleasure. Thank you.